We want
I'll
our
start
Central.
with my Central. In last place of the Central Division, I have your Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah.
Got Bedsy in fantasy though. That'll be fun. I don't think there's much else to say about them though. They're gonna be bad. I think they're gonna be a little better than last year. I have them at 60 points, which I think is a good little benchmark. I think if they can get above 60, I think that's improvement. I think if Bedard plays at least 70 games, also that would be ideal. I think a full 82 though for a lot of these kids is kind of outrageous. Like
Yeah, I agree with you. I think
he's only like
Chicago's
he's
gonna be
like
worst
is he
and 60
19? Like
points.
that's a lot of games.
Yeah, 19, 10,
Yeah,
20. I think, yeah, same. Chicago's gonna be bottom,
I
60,
think
sixty
they're
two
gonna be fun to
points.
watch. Like
I got
it's
them
not
at
gonna be
58.
they're gonna be bad, but they're not gonna be like Ducks bad from a couple years ago, where it's like there's nothing to see here.
No,
Yeah,
they're gonna have a lot of, they're gonna be fun to
it's gonna be
watch.
fun.
It's
Yeah,
not just gonna be an absolute void.
yeah, no, it's gonna be great. I think it's gonna be a fun
Yeah.
year for Blackhawks fans as they just continue growing and Bedard's gonna get a couple
Yeah.
mishies and it's good stuff.
I got
Yeah.
kind of deceived with some of their free agent signs, like, oh, they got Bertuzzi and like a couple players, and
Oh, you need vets
thinking
to
that,
support
well,
the
thinking
kids
that they
for
had,
sure.
I got under the impression though that they had more support and maybe they could have they could be a little bit out of the tier that San Jose and Anaheim are in. But when I look at the roster, they're still really thin.
For sure.
It's I don't know.
All right,
I
Logan,
don't
you
see
want to
them
hit
doing
us
too
with your
well.
seventh place?
St. Louis, right off the bat. I I don't think I mean just the way that today's
They're
game's
kind of
going,
mid.
they kept in the mid. And I just feel like the other
Yeah.
teams below them got better. I don't think they're gonna suck. I just think compared to the
Yeah.
rest of the teams, they're not better.
James?
That is exactly the same. Let me double check. Yeah, I have St. Louis there. Obviously, there's going to be a big step in points between these two. Uh, just in terms of how they are, I have St. Louis, and I still think they're going to be like I have them. I have them like right around where the Kraken are going to be in that similar spot. I'm going to put them at 85 because I think that they're going to be decent. They have enough player pieces.
I don't think the Blues are going to be great. I think they're going to be okay. I have them at 75 points for seventh place in the division. I think that there's just too much better teams around them. I think they're going to win their fair share of games. I think they're going to get points. I look at a guy like Kyrie, for example. I think he's going to have a great year. Um, Falk, guys like that. The guys they picked up from Edmonton too, Broberg and Holloway, I think are going to play well. I don't think like here's the thing is St. Louis, they're kind of in like a bit of a retool, it seems. And I think that their window is gonna come a little sooner than teams like Chicago, probably around the same time as a team like Utah. Like they won a cup not that long ago, but they're surprisingly young and they have some really good talent coming
Mhm.
up. They've had a really good system and good prospects for a long time. I think that St. Louis in 2 or 3 years is going to be back in the wild card hunt, but right now I just don't think they have enough.
Yeah, I see
Uh,
what you mean.
yeah. If we want to move on, there's really not much to say there
Yeah.
with these
Um,
teams. And
where are you sitting with points there, Logan? 80, just kind of in between the two. I feel like they're gonna
there
do
you go.
well, just
Yeah.
not.
In sixth,
I'm gonna hit
you
us with
want
my sixth
lead off?
place. And in
Ah, you
sixth,
took mine. I also have Utah at
I got
sixth.
Utah HC. I have
I'm
them,
not high on this
I'm
team at
putting them at
all.
86 here. I think that
I don't get
like
the
I was not
hype.
putting them in there like, oh, they're gonna be right up there at like
People are like,
90
oh, they're going to
points
be a
getting
wild
that.
card team, or they're going to have a big. They had a big day one of free agency or whatever.
I
I
think
don't
they're
get the
gonna
hype.
have a really hot first 2 weeks in terms of not hot,
There's
like they're
still
probably
the
gonna be,
Coyotes.
yeah, like
Like
the
that
vibes are
stink
better.
hasn't washed off just because they're wearing a different color jersey. Like,
They do have they kind of overhauled their D a bit, having now Sergachev Marino as your top defensive pair
oh, that's way better
instead of Valimaki Jersey.
for sure. That's way better. But
That's huge. I still think
it's.
that
I think
they're
they're going to improve.
lacking
I
some
have them at 90
development.
points. I think they're going to be a lot better than they were last year. But I say hold your horses on people who think that they're going to be a wild card team. And I mean, I guess with where I have them in points, they're going to be pretty close. I think they're going to get some wins. I think they have a decent team, but I think that they're still a couple years away from. Like I look at a guy like Logan Cooley, and I think when he's good, that team's gonna be good. Like that's your guy,
Hmm.
right? Like that's the
Yeah.
star that the straw that stirs the drink
And when you have him
in
and Josh
Utah.
Doan getting good at the same time, then
Hmm.
that'll help. Barrett
Then
Hayton's
you got TJ
somewhat
Gila who's
similar
going
to
to come to
that.
the team either next year or the year after. Like, oh,
Yeah.
they'll be there. Just wait. I think Sergachev is a move that they're going to be a better team this year because of it. But it's also we're going to see the real fruits bear like next year or the year after as they kind of like because
Yeah.
it always takes time once you have a lot of overhaul and to like kind of get like your coach
It
instill their
does.
system and get some practices in and like figure things out.
I think
That's
it's
why
the
I
same
just don't.
coach.
Well, yeah, I know. For that's what I'm saying though. Is like Sergachev isn't going to instantly make them better because
That's what I
they still have
mean.
to work him into the system. They still have to like, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. Like
That
it's
makes
never
sense.
as simple as take out a player, put in a player, you're a better hockey team. Like it takes a little bit of time for that improvement to really show. And I think that this year is a little early, but I think next year and the year after, I wouldn't hesitate to put this team in the wild card race next year, the year after. This year is a little early though. Logan,
Uh,
I have Minnesota. I think they're. I,
understandable. I think
I
that
think they're still
you could
feeling the
put these two
effects.
teams in any order.
Yeah, I think they're still feeling the effects of the contracts that they signed for Suter and
Friese.
Parise. I think this is last year of them, so I think next year will be a better team. And I think there's a bunch of young guys they had come up as they enter the sophomore slump. It's not going to do as well. But yeah, I think they're going
Dead
to get
money.
dead money. 85
Hmm.
points is what I get. 86 around there.
Yeah.
Not much change from last year. Just a couple, maybe
I
a
like their
loss here and
D,
there.
and
I
I like
like
their
their
first two
defense.
lines. First one line, honestly.
I
I
kind of
don't.
like the second line. The way David
I
Faceoff
like
has
Erickson
it set up.
Ek, but I
He's a good
mean,
second line center. Like
he's a
but he
good
does,
second line center. But again, he's kind of like that
he's a
tier
shutdown
I was saying
center.
earlier, where like middle stat, where it's like he's not gonna like
Exactly.
make a line elite. Like you still need to insulate them with like at least
Yeah.
one elite winger to like have a good scoring second line.
I do think that Boldy has that potential. He had
Oh,
a
agree.
really good
Hard agree
second
for
half of the
sure.
season last year. I think he's
I think right
out for like a
now,
couple
Boldy
weeks.
is a good slash great player, and I think he's a year or two
Yeah,
away from being an elite
Hmm.
player.
yeah,
I
he's
think
gonna
he's
be.
gonna have a breakout season this year once, but the hard part is his injury does throw a wrench in that
I think
right now.
he's gonna have his breakout when the Wild have their breakout.
Yeah.
I I, I still think that like again, there's only one puck, right? And I don't think I don't think Minnesota's gonna have it a lot. Like when Kaprizov gets off the ice,
Yeah,
like
no,
he creates space, he creates lanes. Like he's a one man offensive dynamo. And I think if you get
Yeah.
one more guy like that, I think Boldy. I don't think Boldy's that guy, but
I
like, I
don't
don't think
quite think he
he's
is. I think
driving a
he
line, but I think he has that elite talent to be that kind of guy that can
mhm.
open up the ice with his shot, with his passing, like be a real threat. I just think
Mhm.
that again. Yeah,
yeah, I think they're the
I
same.
have the Wild in
Yeah.
I guess fifth that is with 92
Yeah.
points, just 2 points above Utah. I think you can say it. There's
That'd
a
be
lot of
sixth.
similarities between
Oh,
these
oh
two
no, fifth.
teams.
Yeah, fifth. That is fifth. I also have them in fifth.
The
I think I'm a little higher on them than
HC
you.
and the Wild.
I think I'm a bit higher on the Wild than you. I really like the Wild's defense. I think that Spurgeon and Brodin are really
Hmm.
underratedly good.
Oh, for sure.
Faber, everyone knows, is going to be really good.
Hey, don't get me
Uh,
wrong. 92 points is pretty
yeah,
good. I
I'm having.
have that
Oh, you have 92.
one
Sorry, you have
point out of
92.
a
Yeah,
playoff spot.
I have them 93, and I have them 1 point in a playoff spot.
Yeah,
Like it's
I
them and
think
LA are kind
that's
of
where it's
flipping
gonna end up.
around.
And again, it could go either way. Like yeah, like for example, like LA, Utah, Seattle, Minnesota. Those
Hmm.
are four teams that I think are in a serious battle for the last wild card spot.
Personally, one thing that gives Minnesota a bit of a boost, I think, is goaltending. Because for the first like 2 to 3 months last year, everyone really struggled, Gustafson and Fleury. And based on what I've seen from those goalies in previous years, especially I guess Fleury, is they're better than they showed for a big chunk of the season. And I think that this year they're going to be overall a bit better, which means Minnesota just has more of a chance in every single game that they're in. And I think that's going to give them like this is 3 wins difference, but that could be the difference of them missing the playoffs and making the playoffs.
It's gonna be a great year
Oh yeah.
for to watch just the wild card race in the Western Conference. I think last year was a little disappointing. The
It
playoff
was really good for
races.
a bit, and
The
then
East
Nashville
had
went on the
a
tear
the
and
East
it
had a
fell
fun
off.
race. Yeah, exactly. And the East had a fun race until all the
East
teams
was
just started losing and no one could grab the spot.
that
It
made
was
it so
tight.
much fun sometimes
It
because it's
was
like, oh,
pretty
this
funny.
team, just all of them losing, and like, no, you take
Yeah.
it, you take it. It was the opposite of what you expected.
Philadelphia pulling
Logan,
their goalie and ending the Red Wings season was
I
pretty
got
funny.
Utah.
you got
Utah's
Utah
my
there.
yeah. I think they'll be on the cusp at 90 points. I don't think they'll make it, but I think
Yeah.
they'll surprise people. I think the fact that they moved to new cities and put some a fire under their belt kind of make them want to play harder than what they played before.
Yeah, we both have them improving 13 points. Like that's
Yeah.
huge. That's massive. It's
Yeah,
just they really weren't close last year. So
No,
you can
not at
like it's
all.
not like you're gonna jump, from seventh in to a playoff spot. Like that just doesn't
no.
always happen.
Not
Not every
unless you're
not every
St.
team can be
Louis.
Vancouver or
Uh,
St. Louis, yeah, or Edmonton last year, even
Exactly.
though they've always been good lately. So it's
You can't. I don't see Utah ripping off a 16-game win streak.
all right.
All right,
Fourth
Logan, who do
place,
you Logan,
What's
Logan, who
it?
do you have in fourth place? Or here, I'll hit us off here. Fourth place, I have
the
the Winnipeg Jets.
Winnipeg Jets.
And I'm gonna start off, I'll say points here. I have them still hitting 100 points. So there's a notable gap between them and them in the Minnesota Wild.
How many goals do you think Connor gets?
Kyle Connor. Kyle Connor, I think he's probably going to be in that 40 to 50
Oh
range.
yeah,
Like
he feels like a
he's an
lock
elite
for
goal
at least
scorer.
35. Oh man,
Yeah,
he's a
I think he's
hab
a lock
killer
for
too.
40. I think he's yeah.
My team plays him. Oh God.
I do think for parts of the season last year, well, the defining fact feature of Winnipeg last year is I'm pretty sure as a team they led the league in goals against. I believe that was right. And
Yeah,
I
they're
look
up
at their
there.
defense. I look at their
Won the
decor right
Vezina.
now. Hellebuck is still outstanding. I look though, they lost Brendan Dillon. I think actually that's like Brendan Dillon, Nate
The whole
Schmidt.
team kind of plays like Mark Scheifele. Like they score a lot of goals, but on the other side of the puck, like
Yeah, I think
they're
last year they were
no
coached into a super good defensive system and they had some players on defense. I think Brendan Dillon's going to be a huge loss because he was playing with Pionk there in the second pairing.
huge year for Morrissey last year. Breakout season for him
Yeah.
too.
I think that
I
they're going to
expect big
score
things
just
from
as
him.
much as last year, but I think they're going to let in a few more goals, and overall, that's going to let them slide down the standings. I think that puts them a little bit back from last year, but they're still comfortably in a playoff spot.
They got killed by Colorado in the playoffs last year, and
Oh,
that has
they got
seriously impacted
destroyed.
my. I actually had them beating Colorado.
Same.
I thought
Because they
Colorado
should
was a
have.
one-line team and was gonna be good, but I saw Hellebuck, I saw the depth on the Jets, and I said, you know what?
The way they played in
I
the
think
season, they
like
should have.
I thought the second, third, fourth line of the Jets were gonna eat the Avs
Yeah.
alive, but they're just not.
Georgiev hadn't been
They didn't
solid.
belong on the same ice. Colorado beat them so
No,
bad.
it was embarrassing for Winnipeg. That was ridiculous. They should not have lost that
I
bad.
have them at fourth with 95 points, and yeah, like they're a good regular season team, but man,
I'm guessing
that
that's in
was
the
tough.
playoffs.
Yes, that is in the
Yeah, I'm
playoffs.
saying I Winnipeg low, 96 points. I also don't think Hellebuck's gonna have as good a year. He's done it before. He can shit the bed a lot. Like I think the year after he won the
Mhm.
Vezina. No, sorry, it was 2021. Who?
But you look as
2022.
well, it's
He
hard to
shit
be
the bed so
around
bad.
920 for 3 years in a row. Like he might
So
have a step back and still post like a
I think
910
he'll
to
post.
915.
I think he'll post like a 905. I think it to be a huge step back.
I don't see
Maybe
him
even
dropping below
900.
910, but
He's done it
even still,
before.
if he, let's say Hellebuck drops to like a 912, that's going to be really notable.
He's dropped to an 890 before. And I know this because I had him in fantasy that
Yeah.
year. He can shit the bed. And and when he shits the bed,
Well,
he
the
shits the bed
playoffs,
hard.
hence the playoffs. He just fell
Oh yeah.
apart and turned
Like
into a block of Swiss cheese against Colorado.
yeah,
The
like
whole quote about I'm playing my best hockey right now, and he watched the games and he can't stop a beach ball.
yeah, no, it's just yeah, it's just not
Like on one hand,
Yeah.
it is Colorado, but like
It
I
was made
mean,
Stop
like
the
Nathan
puck.
McKinnon ate him alive, but some of the
yeah,
Was
goals
it
that went
wasn't it
in were
wasn't close
terrible.
for a second.
no,
No, even that first game, like Winnipeg, the first period of the first game, Winnipeg looked outstanding. Like they would kick Colorado's butt, and then they just crumbled
yeah.
on a dime. Uh, Here, Dave, why don't you hit us with your third place pick?
This shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Honestly, I could see people even saying, "Huh, I actually had them higher." This is gonna be a really exciting team. I have the Nashville Predators with 99 points.
Ooh.
I think that they've gotten a lot better. You may be wondering, okay, well, they had the same amount of points as last year. They're a good team last year too. I think the West is just harder this year. Like it's just gonna be harder for every team in the NHL to get points than it was. Like I just think that the bottom feeders have gotten better, and I think that the top teams, some of them have
Yeah.
gotten better, but I think most of the good teams have stayed the same-ish. So like 99 points, maybe a bit of a conservative estimate. I'm a little like what's the word? Hesitant to go
Mhm.
really hard on them just because of how much they've changed the identity of the team. Like we watched them in the playoffs against the Canucks, and that team had a solid identity, right? Like it was very obvious the way that they wanted to play and the way that they game planned, the way that the system that they had playing. You take a lot of players out, you put a lot of new players in, and it's hard to establish that system the exact same way that it was before. So I think that, yeah, like on
Mhm.
paper, I think they're better, but I think the way that they're going to play is going to take a bit of a hit, kind of like early on
To
the
start,
season until
that's
they
true.
ramp up with their new system and their new kind of players and they get, their
And that'll
power
stop
play
them
with
from
Stammer set
going for
up
a
and
division
stuff.
title.
I think they're going to be way more dangerous in the playoffs this year, but
Oh
I think the
yeah.
regular season is going to be basically the same.
They proved last year that they can shut down like one of the highest flying offensive teams, but then they just couldn't
Hmm.
score any goals to back it up. And now they add
Hmm.
Stamkos and Marchessault. That's huge.
For sure.
I also I have them second there. I'm gonna say with like 101 points because like I the same like similar sort of things there. That's not a huge. Last year at one point they ripped off a streak that was 16-0-2. This team is really good. I don't see that happening again this year at any point. I think that they're just going to be more consistently good throughout the season, and maybe at the start they're going to take a little bit of time to get used to that roster, as you said there. There, yeah, I think the real danger for other teams with regard to them is going to be in with the playoffs and how well they're going to be there.
I have Colorado third. I feel like it's gonna be same points, 107. I think maybe 108, just to play, see like they're different. Um, and the only reason why I feel that like nothing's changed for them. They're a good team going in. They're still a good team now. They haven't went through any major changes. It's basically the same team. I just feel like my second pick, Nashville, is just so much better. Like they went from a team which had basically one threat, maybe two. Like Yossi and Forsberg were the only two guys really scoring for them. And now the fact that they have added depth in Marchessault and Stamkos, proven goal scorers, like I feel like it's just gonna like
Hmm.
99 points was just those two. Like they're gonna double,
Yeah,
or not double, but they're gonna win way more games that they've lost last year, which just came down to the fact that people tied up those two players.
I think Novak as well, who's going to be centering those two in the projected lineup, is also an underrated prospect.
Yeah.
He's a real like watching him play, he's a really intelligent player. I've seen him and Evangelista play a lot of time and they both look really dangerous. He has a lethal shot, which that's a third one now with Marchessault and Stamkos. All three of them, like for a goalie there, if all three of them are coming at you on a rush, you have no idea which one's going to be shooting because all three of them can absolutely snipe it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
they have to play that way too. They
Yeah.
can't just be deep because it might be hard for them to not just pass to Stammer every time, right? Like you look at a team like Washington, it's like, oh, who's gonna be taking the shot? Oh, it's Ovi every time. Guard him and you're good. Like
Mhm.
Nashville has to be conscious, aware not to just fall into the trap of holy shit, we have
Mhm.
Steven Stamkos. I'm gonna give him the puck every time, you
Yeah.
know?
Like
Well,
on
I
the
feel
power
like
play, like
Novak's got to
Forsberg's
be
there as
confident to
well.
rip it himself
Yeah,
on a rush, right?
having Forsberg,
And they
Stamkos,
will.
and
It'll be fine.
Marchessault
They'll be
on
good.
the
yeah,
power play, you
yeah,
have no idea who's going to shoot. And
no,
Yossi as well likes to shoot it.
yeah,
They'll be good.
they have three good forwards on defense who can shoot that puck. Like that puck's gonna go to someone that's a threat. Like it's
Their
not the
power
same
play is
as
going to
like
be lethal.
it's not the same as like well Washington's the best example of like a one threat power play. Like it's only Ovi. It goes to Ovi. He's
They
not
all
shooting
just
that
try to
puck.
set him up.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Any concerts this year for the Preds?
Probably
Ooh,
not.
that's a
Or
good
is that
I'm gonna
question.
just a
go with
thing
a
that'll
no.
never happen again?
Yeah, they went 16-0. Like they'll mention it, like, hey, let's go for concert, and then they'll lose. But great, streaks back
Book a
on.
trip just to cancel it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they got to book a trip in the during the Four Nations tournament or something like that,
Hmm
and then if they're not first of the division, they cancel it.
Cancel it. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Second
Uh,
place, I
Oh, wait,
have.
that's yeah. Oh, so before you I also have Nashville is 110 points at second place.
Yeah, that makes sense.
oh, that's good.
That's pretty good. I have in second place, and a lot of people are not going to like this. The Dallas Stars.
Oh, that's interesting. That's spicy. That's not.
I think that they're going to be in kind of a similar situation as Edmonton, where they're not like the regular season is not their priority at all. I think that they're almost going to be playing not necessarily a worse brand of hockey, but a different brand of hockey to try and establish better habits for the playoffs
Hmm.
because they did really well. They beat Vegas, very close series. They went down early. Um,
They beat Colorado. Dallas was also a really close
they
series.
beat some they beat
I
some
think they had
good
the.
teams.
I think Game 5 went to overtime and Game 6 went to double overtime
They played
against
all right against
Colorado.
Edmonton, but at no point did a team that we all looked at, and I thought they were going to win the cup last year. They didn't look like easily the best team at any point, and I think that that kind of set off a warning flag, I think, for management and for coaching that I think they need to play a little differently, and I think they're going to try and establish different habits in the regular season,
Hmm.
and they might take a step back points wise because of that. But I think that in the playoffs, it should lead to them being just a more dangerous team overall.
Hmm. My second place team, Colorado. I think where they fall short from Dallas is they really only have one offensive line. And even though that line is going to care more about the regular season, you have Nathan McKinnon, who is just one of the most intense people ever. I don't think that there's going to be the goal support behind him to overtake Dallas in the division. That being said, I have Colorado with I have them with is that right? I'm gonna have them with like 106 points, about the same as last year. I think that possibly some of the teams like Nashville might take a couple points off them, just like is that where I want them?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm fine with
stick with
that.
it.
I'm
Stick with
fine
it.
with that. Like
I have
if it changes by plus or minus like 4 points, like if it goes up
mhm.
by like 110 or something like 108, something like that, that's one win.
I have Dallas. Uh, one sec with uh 105
Oh
points,
yeah.
and I have Colorado with 109 points.
Yeah.
I think that Colorado might be the best regular season team in the NHL. Like it's between them. Like I think Vancouver's up there. Uh, I think the Rangers are up there, Devils, but
Yeah.
I look at their decor in Colorado and I look at their forwards, and I just think that is a team that's built, not built necessarily built for regular season hockey, but they're going to eat alive the regular season. They're going to score so many goals.
Hmm.
And the way that they play too, at least the way they played lately in the regular season, um, it's just so hard for me to see them taking a step back, especially when you compare to last year. So if you notice, like I have them 2 points above where they
I
finished
kind of want
last
to
year,
put them
but I
to
have the rest
108.
of the division kind of like just not quite dominating as much. Like I think it's going to be a little closer, and I think that Colorado is going to benefit from a team like Dallas and a team like Nashville kind of changing up the way they play a little bit this regular season.
Hmm.
Nashville with the personnel changes, and Dallas just with the fact that they're gonna. I think they're gonna react to how that series with
Yeah,
Edmonton went. I think they look back at that and they say we should have beat these guys. They're more like Florida
I think
than
so.
you know Like they could I think they could have done a lot better against Edmonton. Edmonton is a really good team. A lot of people have them winning the cup this year. I wouldn't blame you if you did them as well, other than, Canada is kind of cursed. But
It would have to break the Canada curse to do so.
yeah.
Logan,
I have
how do you
Dallas.
feel about Dallas?
I think nothing much has changed. Like, they're a good team. They're a good defensive team. They got good goaltending. Like, I think the way the system is, even with the retirement of Pavelski, is that they're just a solid lockdown team. Like,
Hmm.
they don't let team like, they get the lead and they play defensive, and that's kind of a team that wins games and wins
And
playoff
their
series.
and their young depth is always the same. Like now they're gonna have
Yeah,
Stankoven in there full time. Maverick Bourque led the AHL in scoring last year, and now he's with them. I don't know much else about him, like how he plays, but it's always good to lead the AHL in scoring, and that as a prospect, and then come into the NHL, it's probably a good sign. I think Wyatt Johnson is going to light it up this year. He was outstanding in the playoffs last year. He was probably Dallas's best player, and I think he's going to pick up right where he left off.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's gonna be unreal.
I love their offensive depth. I'm a little shaky on their defensive depth, in particular the right hand side. Uh, and their goaltending still, Ottinger is an outstanding goaltender.
yeah. I have
Where
the
do you have
For
him
Bears
for points,
at
Logan?
112. I think this top three can go anywhere. It's just all basically a win away from finishing in those positions. I just think Dallas is gonna come up on top of the three teams.
Yeah, that's fair.